So, okay, that's great. But when they did some experiments, you would initially think that electrons work the same as photons because electrons are particles. You can measure them, quantify them, and count them as they go by individually, apparently, according to the physicists. So they did the double slit experiment, which is the number one most confounding Twilight Zone thing ever, because what that is they got a screen that detects the electrons, and I guess they did it with protons too, with a little slit that goes through, and then they shoot protons through the slit, and it fills up the other side exactly how you'd imagine, according to the shape of whatever that slit was. Great. And then you do two slits. Shoot the protons through, two slits on the other side. That's exactly what you think would happen, right? So they do it with electrons. They shoot electrons through. Yeah, electrons are particles just like protons. Goes right through. Same shape on the other side. And then they go, okay, well, let's do it with the two slits. So they shoot the electrons through the two slits. And the electrons go through individually. That's how they shot the electrons through individually, one by one, single file. But to their astonishment, on the other side, they came across as though there was a wave, which is if you, I guess, put the slits inside of water halfway up, and then you push the water, the waves will push through the holes, and then they will, because they're waves, they'll come and they'll hit each other and then bounce off, and then they'll create a pattern. And when they hit each other, they cancel each other out. So what you get on the other side of the screen are lots of little lines like this. The center of the line being bright, getting less bright, emptiness, and then another line, and then gradually bright into another line, which is how waves work. But the problem is that they shot the electrons through individually, one at a time. So how could they have acted like a wave, as you're not throwing them one at a time, if they came through one at a time, not a wave, not all at once like a wave? How could they have canceled itself out? There's not another electron from before kind of stopping, waiting for the other guy to come so he can bump into him. So I guess you could answer that a little bit by saying, well, I don't know how they did the experiment. I mean, I would think that maybe if you shoot a light with one light bulb through the two slits, they would be bouncing off each other on the way down there, and then they would create it. And they thought, yeah, maybe somehow. That to explain that in itself is very, very mind-boggling, and I haven't heard anybody explain it. If you or anybody who can explain that particular part of the double slit experiment, I would love to hear it. But as far as my brainstorming as to how that could possibly have happened, how an electron could act as a wave even though you're shooting them through one at a time, is perhaps unlike the proton, which would just fly through the sky, because I guess protons act differently in the double slit experiment than the electron. The electron travels through universe and the graviton along the filament of the higher dimensional wave pattern, which is the giant bubbles which get emanated out into eternity by everything. Giant bubbles creating giant three-dimensional filament. So basically what the electron does is it goes through and it randomly follows through all of the paths of the filament which exists and is very real, which is just as real as anything else, just on a higher dimension and we don't see it. So it travels along that, but it doesn't travel along its own path. It travels along the general path of whatever the electrons go through. So that part of the experiment in itself would prove the existence of a higher dimensional ether. But then it gets but then it just blows up and gets even more, 100 times more ridiculously unexplainable and insane. And that is when you go, okay, well, the electron goes through one at a time, yet acts like it's all coming in all at once, because they would have to go on all at once in order to cancel each other out and create those wave patterns. If it's coming in all at the same time, well, let's find out exactly how they can cancel itself out when it's just traveling by itself. So they hook up a camera to actually watch the trajectory of each and every individual electron. And, well, sure enough, as any normal person would expect, they follow the electron through the hole. This electron goes through this hole, and then goes to the other side, and you shoot another electron, you follow it, it goes to the hole, goes to the other side, and at the end of the experiment, after you've watched all the electrons, you've got two slits, just like if you shot protons through. So the electron, something about the laser going through and detecting the electron go through changed the behavior of the electron itself. And the electron goes, oh, whoops, I'm being watched. Okay, then watch me the whole way. Whereas if the electron's not being watched, the electron goes, okay, well, here I go. I'll follow the matrix randomly, and it'll attach me to wherever it goes. So it'll zigzag and just leave off of one trajectory, go onto a parallel universe trajectory. Go off of one, go onto another, and go. So the big question, which nobody has answered, I don't think anybody's even attempted to answer, is how's the electron know it's being watched? Something about, well, I mean, and it can't be the laser beam hitting it, because all sorts of particles are hitting electrons. It has to travel through space with all kinds of particles all day long. The electron hitting it should just be another particle hitting it. Why would it just suddenly become a particle? I don't know. I'm not that smart. But all I'm saying is that our intention, attention of us, our souls, actually changes the physical universe like that. And if it can do that, then I would posit to jump ahead and say that we live in a three-dimensional world with a certain vibration. When we die, we change vibration, and we go into another high frequency vibration where we would be more in touch, float freely through this matrix, and eventually, if that happens, then there's no reason to believe how you couldn't even get to a higher vibration and actually start to gain more and more control over not just electrons, but the functionality of the neutrons and protons and everything. How that happens, I don't know. I just totally dropped the ball, but that's as far as I can go. If anybody can help me out, please. These are the two questions I want people to answer me, if anybody can. Number one, how does the particle of the electron act as a wave, even though they're going through one at a time? How do they bump each other when there's nothing to bump into? Nobody's explained that one. And then number two, how does the electron know it's being watched? How does the electron know it's being watched? And how does it turn into a particle? And why? So, anyways, I lost my, so here it is. L equals mi squared.